So I think I can start. Hope everyone hears me well. Dear members of Cooperatives Europe, warm welcome to our webinar where we will introduce you to the Coopedia knowledge base. My name is Hannah and I work as an education and training officer at Cooperatives Europe, and more specifically within the Framework Partnership Agreement signed in 2016 between the European Commission and International Cooperative Alliance, including all its regional offices. I coordinate a global mentoring program for young cooperative entrepreneurs, as well as this Coopedia knowledge base. With me today, we have Lorenzo, project coordinator of Cooperatives Europe, Benoit, the lead developer of the Coopedia knowledge base, working at the French cooperative Starting Blocks, and Elise, our communication officer, who you can ask questions about communication and in case you would have any issues with Zoom and this webinar. We will begin with a presentation of Coopedia, followed by a brief reminder about the expression of interest and some room for questions and answers. Please note that this webinar is being recorded. So.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Georgia. Hello, Hannah from Greece.
Hello, Lucas. Can you hear me well? Great. All right. So what is Coopedia? Coopedia Knowledge Base is a collaborative search engine listing resources such as tools, books, and reports related to cooperative entrepreneurship. Coopedia aims to give young entrepreneurs worldwide the support and tools they need to start up their cooperative businesses, and also to provide learning and introductions to students and actors interested to learn what the cooperative model is all about. It allows them to find various types of resources in a variety of languages based on their topic of interest. So, very excited to share with you that the official launch of the Coopedia knowledge base will be on Tuesday next week, and it will be hosted on this domain, coopedia.starter.com. So before we go ahead and check it out, I wanted to give you a bit of background as to how Coopedia came about. Coopedia has been developed as a joint initiative between the two mentoring programs, COP Starter 2.0 and the Global Cooperative Entrepreneurs, and it's funded as an activity under the ICA EU partnership, COPS for Dev. Coopedia builds on the idea of a global community of two different types of actors. On the one hand, you have contributors, and this is cooperators and experts in the field of cooperative entrepreneurship. A contributor's task is to index resources on cooperative entrepreneurship and to peer review resources indexed by other contributors as a way to ensure that our indexed resources are relevant. On the other side, the other type of user are the so-called searchers. These are the entrepreneurs, students, and various actors wanting to learn more about cooperative entrepreneurship. They can search for resources, and if they don't find what they're looking for, they can post a resource request to the community of contributors. So how does it work? Coopedia is an open source software and the first of its kind. It's built by cooperators for cooperators. We see Coopedia as a brilliant opportunity for us, the cooperative movement, to capitalize on our fifth principle, providing education, training, and information to the public. We also think that the design of Coopedia encourages cooperation between cooperatives and various key actors such as universities, training centers, civil society organizations, and local authorities interested in cooperatives. So with this small introduction, we will now go ahead to show you a bit on how Coopedia actually looks. And then we will come back to discussing a bit the benefits of hosting Coopedia and the technical requirements that we're asking for in the expression of interest. I hope that everyone can see my screen now. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you for clarifying that. So this is the starting page of Coopedia. So right now we have one installation of Coopedia, which is hosted on CoopStarter 2.0's website. So this is how it looks when you want to enter Coopedia. Here you have two options. You can either access the knowledge base by registering, or you can also do it without an account. Now I will show you how you can create an account and also how we can post and review different resources as a contributor. So you click here. Now I will not log into one of my accounts, but I will show you how to do it. You click on this button below here. Don't have an account, register here. And here you have to come up with a username. As this is just a test, I will create a new account like this. And you need to come up with a password. And here you need to click that you agree to the privacy policy of Cooperatives Europe. And as soon as you've done that, you will be able to click on the activation, send an activation email. And this will now arrive to your email account of which you're registered with. And I will now just open this email on my phone because it's a bit quicker. And this is just a very typical link that you get in the email. You need to just click on the link and it will start up your account. 1 second. So once this is done, we need to go to the starting page again and click connect. And here we log in with our new user, which I take like this. And you click login. Here you need to click authorize. So this is referring back to my presentation, an important step, because here you choose if you want to become a member of the community as a contributor or as a searcher. So for this purpose, we will choose contributor because I will show you how you can post and review different resources. So I'm clicking here. And here is how you need to fill in your contributor account. So you see everywhere where there's a red star, you need to fill in your details. Here is something very important to keep in mind. When you indicate your languages, please make sure to be very thorough, because as the community grows, you as a contributor will be able to access resources and review resources that are available in the languages that you speak, and also here connected to your areas of expertise. So please click in as many as you feel are applicable to you, like this. And here, this is not mandatory, but it can be a great way for you to say which organization you're from. Also to write the title of your position, where you're based. And here you can also write more about what type of activities you do and what type of skills that you think you can share with our researchers, with our searchers, which is a great way to make sure that you're connected to the community. So once you filled in all the information, you click on complete your account. And now you end up at your dashboard. So this is how it looks when you're a contributor. Just before I go in to show you how you post resources, I will show you what the database is, because I think this is a good background to keep in mind. So we click here. Here we go. Here's all the resources that we have been indexing so far. You can search resources by name or description. You can also search it by format, language, field, country of publication, etc. And we also have this very exciting step. You can filter resources if it's about wanting to start up a cooperative or learning about cooperatives. And here you see that we have different steps. So different steps leading towards starting a cooperative. Step 1, identifying your needs. Step 2, motivating and including members, etc. So with this in the background, this is how we index resources. So we will go back to our dashboard. And this button is where you click if you want to post a resource. You click here, the title of your resource. I will now, for the sake of this webinar, show you how you can post a website. So I will choose Cooperatives Europe website, country of publication. So we're based in Belgium. Languages, English, and here location of web link. This is of course important to get right. Here's the different formats you can choose. So for now, we're indexing a web page. So we click here. The fields, so I would say general for this resource. Resource author, it's Cooperatives Europe. Learning outcomes and skills. So this is important because this is what searchers will see when they're looking for resources. So they will be able to search based on what they want to learn. I can say here you can learn about best practices. You can learn about innovation and idea generation, etc. You can fill in how many you want. Here you need to write a short description of what this resource is. So I will say website of Cooperatives Europe. And you can also add videos, you can upload an image if you would like to, but it's not mandatory. And here you need to also classify who is the target of this resource. So is it for the community of contributors, searchers, or perhaps public? You think that this is a resource that anyone can benefit from. You also click here, type of content. So if we think back to the database that I just showed you, this is where you click if it's about learning about cooperatives or starting up cooperatives. You can click both if you think both are applicable. For categorization, so this is the steps that we have identified to start a cooperative business. Here again, you can, if you think your resource is very specific, you only click one of the categorizations, but you can also choose multiply categorizations, and your resource will appear in several steps. You can also share this resource private. So if you as your organization install Coopedia and you want to share documentation only to your organization, you can choose the function private, organization, or public. We also have the function of being able to link the resource that you post to other resources that are already available. So I can say like this, for example. And now when everything has been filled in, I send my resource that I want to index for validation. And I go back to my dashboard. So now this is a very exciting step. My resource that I indexed will end up under this tab for other contributors. So what's the validation process? We have just uploaded a resource to the database, and this resource has now been sent to other peers of the community. And they have now the option, 3 different options. They can say that the resource that I posted is very relevant, it's been indexed in a good way, so they can click validate and make it appear automatically on the database. But perhaps they also found that I did not describe the resource sufficiently, or I forgot to add certain learning outcomes. So they can send feedback for improvement to me, which will reappear to me. Or they might say, hey, this resource is actually has nothing to do about cooperative entrepreneurship, so it shouldn't be here, and they report it as inappropriate. So we will try this now. I click here as a resource that has been posted by someone. I click that I want to check it. Here we can see that the title of the resource is called Youth and Cooperatives in the Americas. It's a PDF. It's about generating business ideas. You can see that it has been posted by me and from the organization Cooperatives Europe. You can see that I have tagged that you can learn understanding about the cooperative business model and best practices. And I've added a short description. You can also see that it refers to multiple countries, general fields in English, etc. So here I have the option that I just told you. If I want to validate it, report it as inappropriate, or send a request for improvement. So I will just show you how you can send a request for improvement. You click here. And here I will send a direct message to that contributor that has posted this resource. I can say, for example, please tell us more details about what you can learn from this resource. And then I will send this to the contributor, who will get this as a message, can update the resource, and it will reappear again to be validated. I click send, and we get thanks for your review. So once we have started to index a lot of resources, they will appear under the history of your resources. So here you can see what we just did, the resource that we posted, which was the website of Cooperatives Europe. We can see that it's pending validation. So as soon as another contributor has reviewed this resource, it will appear to me either that it's been validated or that I need to improve something about it. This other last function that I want to show you is resource that have been requested by the searchers. So here they can send to the community of contributors request for resources. So here we see that one searcher has been asking for resources about business benefits of being cooperative in IT. So if I know of a resource like this, I can post it like I showed you, and then click dealt with when it's been approved, and it will come as a notification to this searcher. So this was a very quick overview of how the structure of Coopedia works. I will now refer back to my presentation. Okay, so before we conclude, benefits of hosting. If this presentation was not proof enough of how useful the Coopedia knowledge base can be, let me just clarify a few of the main points. So, the knowledge base, Coopedia, can be a really effective tool to apply a common standard to management of public documents. So resources indexed on each other's knowledge base installation can be made available for searchers on the whole network, or just for searchers within your organization. So this is a great way of managing your own documents, internal and external. It's also a great way for you to increase your visibility of your developed content, because it will become available for so many people in this community. And of course, you'll have easy access to worldwide resources and an active community around cooperative entrepreneurship. And also, when you install the Coopedia knowledge base, please keep in mind that all the components are open source and modular. So this means that you as an organization can choose the features you need, or even start developing your own. And last but not least, joining a federated network to really capitalize the fifth cooperative principle in a really innovative way. So the last part of my presentation, and I think maybe the reason why many of you are here today, Cooperatives Europe has announced an expression of interest for its members to join the Coopedia knowledge base as a federated network. This means that we will cover the cost for 2 members, so 2 installations of the Coopedia knowledge base, and maintenance support provided by Starting Blocks. So, what are the requirements that we are asking for in the application? The requirements are twofold. First, it's about demonstrating expertise and activities connected to cooperative entrepreneurship. So being able to share and have resources available that can be relevant for entrepreneurs, and having a network of experts within the field, and hopefully also a good outreach to entrepreneurs who wants to start a cooperative, and of course being connected to the cooperative movement. The second set of technical requirements are the technical ones. So first, that your website needs to be of WordPress, WordPress website to be able to host it. You need to also be able to have a server with sufficient bandwidth and support for Python 3 and PostgreSQL for running the backend. You need to also have control of a domain name. So we said preferably .coop, but it's not mandatory. And you need to also be able to have a maintenance plan showing that after the support and maintenance that we're providing, that you can maintain and make sure that the Coopedia knowledge base grows. So I will leave the floor to all of you and see if there's any questions or comments on my presentation, and perhaps in particular connected to the expression of interest. So if you have a question or comment, feel free to unmute yourself and raise the question.
Hannah, there's a question from Milana Götz in the chat.
Okay.
She's asking, could you show what it looks like for the searcher with Coopedia?
Yeah, so actually it's I can actually already tell you, because what the searcher will see is the database. So the database of all the resources, which I showed you where we were looking for resources. So the difference between becoming a contributor and a searcher is that the contributor have access to where you can index and review resources as well as the database. But a searcher can only see the database and request resources. So I can show it again, but it's the database that I showed in the beginning of my presentation.
Maybe another question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Hannes from Belgium. Yes, for the technical requirements, I have to say that I'm not IT expert, so there are some questions that I have to ask to our IT colleagues. But from the content, or for the content, I have the impression that if you are saying that you will that you are a contributor and you have to do some peer review in English, it is possible that you have a lot of work, not? Because if there are a lot of things uploaded, you have to peer review a lot of things. So
yeah, thanks. That's a really great question. So indeed, it could look like a very large piece of work, but what I showed you also in the beginning, that once the community grows and the more users we get, we will activate some settings, which means that when you create an account as a contributor and fill in the languages, but also your areas of expertise, you will only be able to see the resources that needs validation connected to your area of expertise. But for now, since we're quite still at the starting phase, we have not started these functions yet. So I think by time it will look slightly different.
okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Then we have a question from Laura Galassi, who asks, how does it appear once Coopedia is installed on a contributor's website? Will there be a link?
So the question was, yeah, maybe actually a bit about how it will look when it's installed. I'm better to hand this question over to Benoit, our lead developer, as he will be supporting on this process. Maybe Benoit, you can give an answer to that question.
Yes, definitely. So when it's installed, actually in the technical requirements, there is a requirement for a WordPress website, which is kind of optional, and which allows you to onboard what you saw regarding the database. So both the search engine and the search results display. You would be able to onboard those components directly on your WordPress website. So it would be more than a link. It would be like the components themselves, which are onboarded in any of your WordPress pages. And you could use that through using a shortcodes or Gutenberg's blocks for people who know a little bit about WordPress. So it will also be detailed in some documentation. So it's kind of integrating the resources database on your own website instead of getting on it through the instance, the website.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks for that, Benoit. And also to say that if you have more questions like this, I think we're more than happy to receive this in emails and try to elaborate even further.
The next question comes from Molidor. So he asks, can members of CDP, so the Cooperatives Europe Development Platform, use Coopedia, and how?
Yeah, so thanks for the question, Molly. Anyone is free to use it. So to create, please feel free, and we really encourage you to start using the Coopedia knowledge base. We want the community to continuously grow. So absolutely yes. Yeah, this would be great. Please join.
And the next question comes from Joachim Game. How much time do you anticipate we will need to put in working with Coopedia?
In terms of installing it itself or using it on an everyday purpose?
I'm not sure, but I think you can answer both.
Okay, I will. So in terms of installing it itself, I will hand that to Benoit. However, to use it, I think, and this is, I mean, we encourage organizations that wants to host it to use it as much as possible. And as I was saying in my presentation, you can use it both to, access documents from all around the world, from this global community, connect to young entrepreneurs, increase the invisibility of your own resources, as well as using it for internal management of your own documents. So we hope that it will become a part of your everyday workflow.
The idea behind Coopedia is to build a network of people interested in the topic. So it doesn't have to look like a new task for your everyday job, but more as a tool on one side to expand the knowledge, but on the other side also to do networking. So it's a way to share your work and to share the inspiration of your work, so the material that you find around on the internet, but also offline, because the Coopedia knowledge base is designed to index materials in general. So if you know of a book, you can give the details for that, and people will go to a bookshop or a library. So the idea is not to add a new task to your work, but to find a new outlet for the information that you produce and a new source for your other researches. So if you're able to contribute as a peer reviewer, that's very good, and that's what we expect from organizations particularly. But from individuals, what we expect is to use the knowledge base and contribute what they can when they can.
Yeah, exactly. And just maybe to clarify that a bit further, we don't expect you as one contributor to be responsible to review and peer and validate all the resources. It's of course up to you as a contributor to decide how much time you have to allocate to post and index resources and validate resources.
But if you want to contribute, you have to peer review.
No, this is what we hope, but of course to post resources, you can do this as a single activity, but before your resource is made available for others to see, someone else need to click that it's validated. But you can start indexing and they will appear for other contributors. And the reason behind all of this is that we really wanted to make sure that the resources that are put on the knowledge base are relevant and connected to cooperative entrepreneurship. But there's no set of like, you have to do a set of peer reviews in order to be able to do another post, for example.
We have a question from Isabella Ippolito, who says she's not to have understood all the possible tasks in case of installation.
So
I think that Lorenzo has already answered me. Thank you. Meanwhile.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Then we have a question from Ilana Gotz asking if an organization wants to share resources, can we do it by installing Coopedia or by sharing through another installation?
Yes, so you can do both. You can install Coopedia, but you can also use this installation that you can see on my screen now. So coopedia.starter.coop. You can start using it already now and index resources.
I would like to add something. The idea behind having multiple instances is also to leave to you the management of the resources and the user accounts data, which could be personal. So it's one idea to be able to share contents, but it's in the same way to still keep the personal information management on your side. And it's like the value we propose in starting blocks, especially, but in that use case also. So that's why you could use that. You could use an already existing installation to index your resources, but it could make sense depending on your organization to also keep your hands on managing the resources data. So.
Then we have a question from Danilo Salerno. He says, thank you, Hannah, for the inspiring presentation. If someone is interested into a training available on Coopedia, is it also possible to have a training via Coopedia? So is Coopedia also an online training platform, or is Coopedia just thought to promote the training?
Yeah, so for now, the two modalities that we have, it's not possible to run trainings through them. So what it's possible to do for now is to index and review resources and to view resources on this database. But this question is actually really interesting because since Coopedia knowledge base is based on open source technology, and we have already released the code behind this, we really welcome developers to develop new modalities to make sure that the knowledge base Coopedia as an ecosystem grows. So I think what you're proposing, Danilo, is an excellent addition that we could foresee in the future. So a new modalities in which you can host online trainings. But for now, we don't have it.
Maybe another question. It can be that you already have told it, but then it wasn't so clear for me. You don't have to be a host to contribute.
No, exactly. So you can log into the installation that we already have now and create the account like I showed you and start indexing and peer review resources.
Okay, then it was indeed clear to me, but then I have another question. The advantages that you told us, it's really clear of course for searchers and for contributors, but the hosting part, the benefits, that's not so clear for me. Except of course helping each other, but
the benefits of having it on your website?
Yes.
Can I answer, Hannah, for that? So originally, Coopedia was created keeping in mind organizations first as first actor for this, because the idea behind this open source software is a federated network. So each node will be able to connect with the others, and you will be able to search on the interface for Coopedia and getting information from every single source. But at the same time, as Anna showed before, you can choose to have some of the resources tagged as private, And those resources are searchable only on your own interface for your organization. So you can use Coopedia both at the same time, both as a global knowledge base and as a directory search for your website. So you can keep your own material limited to your website, so people can find it only there. For example, a classic example for that, and the reason why we started this functionality, is for training centers and universities that have publications that can't be distributed everywhere, or they don't want to distribute them everywhere based on intellectual property. So you can make them available only for users on your own website, but at the same time having them in the same format of other Coopedia resources so that it's uniform, and in the future you can share them also with the network if the time comes for that. So this is the main reason. The other reason is that being an open source software, it is released under MIT license, so a very, very permissive license. You can essentially do whatever you want with the software. So if you have your own node and you're able to contribute, or you have co-ops in your local area or network that can contribute modifications, you can have a custom version that dialogues with the other nodes but has other functionalities.
Okay, that's really clear. Thank you a lot.
Another, just a clarification from Danilo. When you speak of nodes, do you refer to European nodes or also WW?
No, it's also worldwide. Actually, we will do just one federation of nodes. So each installation, each host is part of this network. And this network has a federation of users. So each user, if you have your user created on starter.coop, you will be able to use the same user to search also, for example, on ICA Americas or on FebeCop installation, for example. You can use the same user everywhere, but your user is subject to the privacy policy of the server where you created the user. And this is also a way to be compliant with GDPR and any other privacy regulation that could be different regionally or nationally. The idea is to start a network that is ongoing and will live as long as the organizations will be able to keep it alive. And being open source, our hope is also that it will be taken up also by others. So this network has to be as resilient as possible, and the federation helps with that. So the public resources will be available even if new actors come in and some others get out of the network.
And another question, does this project have a duration?
So we hope that this is a start of a long growing community that will last for many, many years to come. But in regards to the question of the expression of interest, so the Coopedia knowledge base is an activity under the ICA-EU partnership, and this partnership ends in May next year, May 2021, which means that the maintenance support provided by us also comes to an end in May 2021. But we hope that that's just the start, and then it will continue to grow after this.
To give a note on that, we are talking about web technologies, so the maintenance is not really a big task in terms of time and money. It's essentially like maintaining a website. So once you have the installation up and running, the cost for the organization will not be significantly more than their own website already. The good thing about the expression of interest is that we get to test the solution more widely than what we have now. So it's an advantage for everyone. And at the same time, it also helps to smooth the the installation process so that Benoit and the other developers can follow it very near. And this installation cost and this initial process cost is covered by the partnership budget. So the first let's say that the first hosts will have the advantage of the installation costs covered and will also be part of the testing process. And after all of this, everything will be more streamlined. So the costs will be not covered by the partnership anymore, but they will also be smaller costs. At least that's the plan.
Yeah, great. Do we have any other last questions or comments? No? Crystal clear. Great. I just want to remind you before we close this webinar that the expression of interest will remain open until the 15th of September. Please feel free to send me emails with questions should you think of something else after this webinar. And also we will soon, on Tuesday next week, actually do the official launch of the Coopedia knowledge base. So we hope that you will be able to also support us in promoting it and start using it. So thank you so much for all of you who attended. We were 27 people. This is amazing. And I wish everyone a great weekend. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Maybe Hannah, excuse me. Can I ask one last question? Then I don't have to email you.
Yeah.
What happens if I'm not able to fill in the call of expression of interest, excuse me, before the 15th of September? Is that a big problem? Because I have to ask some things internal and.
Let me, for now we have that as a deadline. I think
Yes.
maybe we need to check a bit internally on how flexible we can be in terms of extension of the deadline. So I will check that and get back to you. But in case also I'm available all through also, I mean, until the deadline. So if you have more questions that
Yes.
you need to be answered, I will try to answer them as soon as possible when you send them.
Okay,
Anyway,
we will do our best.
Expression of interest. So the whole process starts after you expressed the interest. It's
Yes.
not really like an application. It's something lighter at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
There's Danila that wanted to ask something, but you're muted. Sei muta. No, non ti sentiamo. Yeah, ora non sei più muta, ma non c'è volume. Niente, zero. Okay. Can write it down maybe.
Yeah, you can write the question in the chat and we can read it and see if we can try to answer. So the question is if we will be sharing minutes from the meeting. Oh, Lorenzo, I think I cannot hear you.
È stato registrato, recorded l'intero Zoom, quindi si può rivedere tutto il video. Comunque sì, se hai domande o servono informazioni possiamo dartele direttamente. Non ci sono le minute dell'incontro, ma era una presentazione. Ok, perfetto. We will forward the record. Ti mandiamo il video.
Great, thanks for your question.